The community has spoken, and today we're reviewing Canva's terms of use. And buckle up because there's quite a bit to review. So we're going to be reviewing the terms of use, the content license agreement, the AI product terms, as well as the privacy policy. I always thought it was kind of nonsensical to pretend you're collecting consent by providing people a lot of small prints and barely understandable terms. And here Canva really made an effort to make them more accessible. Under each and every section of their privacy policy and terms of use, they have provided those little boxes that simplify what has just been said. So I raise my invisible hat to Canva for making an effort to make their terms clear. Now, with regards to content ownership and the licenses you give Canva, it's actually quite standard. It's clearly said that as between you and Canva, you own all right, title, and interest into your user content. Perfect. And the only license you grant Canva is a sub-licensable license to display, host, copy, store, and use your user content solely to the extent necessary to provide the services to you. So this is great right there. No hidden licenses on your content. This is really just for them to provide services to you. Second, I would like to underline the limitation of liability. It's a little under what I would expect for small businesses. As you can see here, basically for contract breach, it should not exceed the greater of either 100 USD or the subscription fees paid by Canva during the 12 months preceding the event or occurrence giving rise to such liability. Usually you would just like to have the contract value for the past 12 months, but here it's really capped at $100. If you take a look at Canva's pricing, it's going to be fine up to the Canva Pro user, but then if you have a growing team, things might get a little disproportionate here. With regards to the termination clause, there is no termination for convenience, so that is a relief. However, there is a termination for cause that is a little bit open to interpretation. Basically, it says here that if Canva, in its reasonable discretion, determines that you or your use of the service, your user content, or your designs violate these terms, they can suspend or terminate the agreement. Given the fact that there's some applicable discretion here, even though it has to be reasonable, I would have liked to see some kind of grace period to allow the user to cure any potential breach. But aside from that, it's a pretty regular termination clause. Now, moving on to the Canva content license agreement. First, what is content? Well, content is basically everything you want to use from Canva into your design. We're talking here about photos, icon, illustrations, video, audio, fonts, and templates. So that's quite extensive. The license agreement makes very clear what you can and cannot do with their content, but ultimately I think it's just quite wide of a license. You can do content creation, you can do commercial. There's just very few limitations, and it's a great license agreement overall. One quick thing I would like to point out though in section 9 of the license agreement is the restriction here not to use the content as part of a trademark, design mark, trade name, business name, or service mark, excluding the fonts. So don't use Canva to create your logo or your trademark, as simple as that. Now, in the event of termination, what happens to the content you used on your design if you breach the agreement with Canva? Well, it's pretty harsh. If your account is terminated for violating this license, you will lose all rights to content and Canva designs and must immediately delete all content. So basically, if you're violating the terms of the agreement, they can force you to take your thumbnails down or any other graphics you've created with Canva. As we have seen before, given the fact that there's some discretion to terminate the agreement and that there is no grace period to cure potential breaches, well, I think it creates a little bit of a risk for professional content creators and small businesses to create content on Canva. It's not a major risk, but something to keep in mind nonetheless. Now, moving on to the AI product terms. I think it's a well-made agreement, nothing really special to consider here, maybe aside from this paragraph calling out the technology partners, saying that Canva uses technology provided by third-party service providers to provide some of their product, and you direct and consent to personal data you include in an input being transferred to third parties, including OpenAI, and you acknowledge that our privacy policy applies to the handling of such personal data, which brings us to the privacy policy. Because what we really want to make sure here is whether or not they're using your content to train their AI, or if your personal data is disseminated in any ways that you would not like. And I would like to say here, with regards to the privacy policy, it is outstanding. I really want to give a thumbs up to Canva's privacy team. They have done an amazing job presenting a clear and concise privacy policy. But focusing back to your content and how it is used by AI, can they use your content to train the AI? The answer is yes, but let's take a closer look. So we may analyze your activity, content, media uploads, and related data in your account to provide and customize the services and to train our algorithm, models, and AI products and services using machine learning to develop, improve, and provide our services. You can manage the use of your data for training AI to improve our service in the privacy setting page under your privacy settings. And if we take a look at those personal settings, you can actually opt out of both allowing your personal usage to train the AI or even your content to create the AI. So I think Canva's team has done an amazing job here. They are really at the forefront of what I consider to be industry best practice with regards to privacy. So if you're still watching this video, I think it's pretty clear that Canva is a safe tool to use for professional content creators and small businesses alike. So that's it for me today. See you in the next one.